Sometimes you just have to bet for the sweat. Welcome to the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club's Best Bet Seminar. My name is Frank Scatoni, and I am joined each week by a special guest to discuss the best betting opportunities on Sunday's card. As I say every week, just a reminder, this is not a traditional selection show. Not going to talk about every race, just going to look at the specific races and wagering strategies that offer the best opportunities to make a decent score. If you're watching live, feel free to leave us a comment or a question. If you can't watch the whole show live, it will also be archived on Del Mar's Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube pages. So let's get right to it. Let me introduce today's guest. Today's guest had a heck of a run playing in contests last year, winning more than $250,000 in the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge alone. And when he did this seminar here in the fall, he crushed a big double for us and gave out some great information. So it's only natural that I wanted him back for the summer meet. Please welcome today's guest, Dylan Donnelly. Dylan, how are you?
Doing very well. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing really well. It's a beautiful day as usual here at Del Mar. So we got an interesting card that we'll talk about in a second. Before we get to your picks and wagers for today, I did want to bring up a recent interview that you did with Pete Fornatel, who was a guest on the show last week, coincidentally. You guys covered some pretty powerful stuff, mostly how you recovered from a serious car accident. So for those who didn't get a chance to listen to Pete's podcast, and I highly recommend our viewers to take the time to listen to it. It's awesome stuff. Do you want to just talk about the mental fortitude and positive attitude you needed to overcome such a serious injury?
Just pretty much realizing that I was alive, and that I could have been so much worse off. I could not be here, and I got a wife and a son that I had to stay strong for. So, just not trying to be too down on yourself, and I guess being as a dad, sometimes you're just like, don't show weakness, in front of your kids and stuff like that. But just trying to be strong for him. And even though I was down and not doing too well, not being able to move around so much, just trying to be happy and laughing and showing him that's what it's all about.
Right. Well, those life lessons are also applicable at the racetrack, right? So I always say to people who ask, hey, what's the racetrack like? I say, everybody should have to spend 1 year at the racetrack to learn about life lessons, because this game is so mentally challenging and so difficult. And there are so many ups and downs and highs and lows that it teaches you to be super resilient. So it seems like, not to compare the racetrack to what you had gone through, but your personal challenges coupled with the fact that the racetrack is so up and down and so crazy, it's probably made you a better horse player from a mental perspective.
No, that's totally true. You just have to pick up your boots the next, as a person, getting injured and everything and going to physical therapy the next day. It's going to be rough maybe, but you just got to grind it. Sometimes you're tired at night, but you got to watch those replays. You got to study if you're going to be serious about it. So yeah, no, the two kind of mingle together, definitely.
Yeah, but not only that, like you have to be like super resilient when you get a tough beat, right? And then you get a tough beat early in the card, and there's 7 more races to go. If you start getting down on yourself and having that negative attitude, you're just going to keep throwing money away, right? It's just you got to bounce back.
Yeah, no, just stick with your opinions, and one of my good opinions yesterday was early in the card, and there were still 7 more to go after that, and just kind of keep your blinkers on and just stay to what you want to do later on.
Yeah, two guys I really respect, Leo Vukmanovic, who's a terrific player. He is the best at turning the page. I mean, he could have the sickest beat in the world that costs him stacks. And you know what? Didn't work out. Just go right back to the form, on to the next race, pretend it never happened. So having that kind of mental attitude. And then also my great friend William Murray, who's no longer with us, but he was his favorite thing to say was, after a losing day at the track, there's always fresh. There's always another race tomorrow. So you just got to turn the page, move on, and try and pick those winners. So we're going to cover a lot of different topics today. But there's one thing that I saw you down at the paddock here a few days ago. You were looking at the horses. You're wearing your Donnelly Racing t-shirt. Tell us a little bit about getting into the ownership business. I know it's something you wanted to explore. And also, what are you looking for when you're down at the paddock looking the horses, not only from a handicapping perspective, but also maybe from a claiming perspective?
Well, the horse ownership, I just kind of got into it. Last summer was my first one. I went half with the guy on a horse, and I just want to get my owner's license and just get my first horse out of the way. So claimed a horse for cheap, and he didn't do anything. He ran 4 times, and I don't think he passed for a horse. I really don't think he passed a horse. We shipped him to Hawthorne and tried to do something over there, and yeah, he didn't do anything. So now he was a Christmas present for a little 12-year-old girl last
Nice.
Christmas. So it's all good.
That's awesome.
Has a nice home. But yeah, in the horse ownership stuff, I just claimed a horse in May at Churchill Downs, and brought him out here for the ship and win. He's a little weak on the back end right now, so they're doing some treatment, trying to get him a little bit better and healthy so he can run. Hopefully it's meet, but we'll see what happens there. And yeah, just the paddock. I haven't claimed a horse really out here. That like I was on the fence about to go to the paddock and see how he looked, but just go. I like to go to the paddock and just see if they're doing well. You know, see if they're not a mental head case. See if they're minding their manners, and just seeing if they're just. I've trying to been looking at these turf horses. They say they got these saucer like hooves and stuff like that, and I've kind of been picking up on that when I've been going down there recently. So that's really cool that I'm going to use put in my arsenal for first time turfers coming up. But these horses, I've been paying attention more recently at the paddock, and they speak to you and they tell you if they're going to be running a good race. And like yesterday, we talked about Dog Tag looked unbelievable, and Princess Grace those two stood out, and they ran 1-2 in the big race yesterday. So the more you practice, the more you'll realize that they're talking to you.
That's right. And I feel, there's so much information out there, and there's so many good players who do a lot of hard paperwork. One of the few remaining edges a player can get in this day and age is coming out to the track and actually looking at the horses, because not many people are doing it. Tom Quigley does a great job with his paddock tweets for Southern California. But I feel like if you can come out here, especially at a place like Del Mar, where certain horses just thrive, and they could reverse form because they're down here. You got the sea air. It's just a different environment for them. If you see them in the paddock and they're looking good, they're on their toes, they got a nice shiny coat. We talked about Dog Tag. I mean, what a specimen. She's just a beautiful, beautifully built horse, and her coat was shining. And same thing with Princess Grace, who shipped here from the East Coast. She looked terrific. I feel like you can get a real good edge.
That the other horse, Baltus's horse, first time in the United States, Luck. That horse looked like a beast in the paddock yesterday, and stood out. And I mean, that horse came home like a freight train. And I've really been paying attention. And these horses, they've been if they're looking really well and they're sticking out, a lot of some of the good races, they're all going to look good and stuff like that.
Sure.
But just keep an eye out and just write it down in your program or your formulator. Like, hey, this one looked really well. This one was washed out, and so they come back next time, you'll know. So it's definitely still an edge that can be had if you practice it. And I'm trying to practice it now.
Well, you talk about formulator and taking notes. I know you do a ton of paperwork. I know you're doing a lot of trip handicapping recently in preparation for the NHC coming up. We'll talk about those topics and other stuff like track bias, finding value, ticket construction, all that stuff. But I feel like we should just get right into the races, because I know you want to play the early pick 5 today, and I recommend everyone else do so, because I'm going to pop this up on the screen here. 14% low takeout in the early pick 5. The pool sizes have been terrific here at Del Mar. Last Sunday, the early pick 5 pool was close to $800,000. I know the late pick 5 pools go over $1 million, especially on the weekend. So I encourage people to take a look at that bet. I think we should dig in. It's a 10 race card today. There's 2 stakes races, including the featured Grade 3 La Jolla. Interestingly enough, 8 of the 10 races on today's card are sprint races, none of which is longer than 5.5 furlongs, and 5 of the 10 races are maiden races. So I thought it was a bit of a tricky card, so I'm actually glad you want to talk about the early pick 5, so I can get a little help here. Again, it's my favorite bet to play because it is a low takeout, 14%. A wager. So let's just dig right into race 1. It's a Calbred maiden special weight going 5 furlongs on the turf. Rails are out 12 feet. Morning line favorite is number 2 Surplus at 8-5, one of 2 Peter Miller horses. This one has sharp early speed, but removes the hood today. These turf sprints are often won on or near the lead, but this guy has coughed up the lead twice. Does someone run him down? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't like that the horse didn't take any money for Peter Miller first time out. And next time he was bet to, I don't know what he was, 4-5 or something like that, and coughed up the lead late, and take off the blinkers to maybe help him with save some energy. But I'm going to go with the 4 horse here, the second time starter from 4 horse Hotspot, second time starter from Kristen Mulhall, and she's been doing really well this meet.
Yeah.
The horse never was comfortable, I think, until pretty much turning for home. I was always in tight, just she wasn't really comfortable, and ran well down the lane. And I think this horse improves, should be kind of closer to the pace, and I think this is one of the more likely winners of the day on the card.
Okay, so if everybody looks at the screen, I wrote down a horse for Hotspot. So do you want to talk a little bit about ticket construction, what you use, the whole ABC concept, and putting together wagers that most reflect your opinion of the race and the horses that you like the best, as opposed to horses that you kind of like?
Yeah, so I pretty much, for every multi-leg bet, pick 4s, pick 5s, pick 6s, I'll use DRF formulator, and I'll go and I'll plug in who my A horse is, who my B horse is, and who my C horse is. And therefore you have one whole line of all your A horses, and I'll bet that, instead of for 50 cents, I'll play that a $5 ticket, or a $10 pick 5. And just so when you're right, you should absolutely crush the sequence. And it's not going to be a lot. You're not going to hit all A's a lot. So when you do, you really want to have the track pay you a lot. So there's, all A's, there's all A's and 2 B's. If that sequence comes in, all your opinions, all A's and 1 B, and then all A's and 1 C. C's might be, some of the longer price horses that you think possibly have a chance, and you just want to hit them for 50 cents if they come in with the rest of your A opinions. So don't play caveman tickets. They're going to eat you out in the long term if you're playing enough, and it's just not a smart thing to do. Value your opinions. Play your stronger opinions more times. You have to do that.
And when you get paid, when you hit, you get paid. We talked earlier about you never want to leave money on the table. Like, there's no worse feeling in the world than hitting a race and being excited about hitting the race, and then looking and going, God, I should have taken more money out of that race.
Yeah, no, you have to. If you're right, you really need to, because you're not going to be right a lot. And so when you hit them, you definitely want to get paid for it.
We also talked a little bit about not worrying about getting beat by the favorites. There are some people out there who say, well, you can kind of use the favorite defensively as maybe a B or C if you want, but if you don't really like the favorite, why would you even have the favorite on your ticket, right? I mean,
I think all those defensive, all that defensive money that you're putting in every time into those pools, you're gonna lose. All that money is gonna add up, and it's just gonna, you're throwing money away. If you don't like it, don't use it.
Right. So you want to create tickets and structure tickets that best reflect your opinion. So, and we'll see that as we continue to go through. So as you can see, Dylan's A horse is number 4 Hotspot. Was there anyone else that you wanted to talk about in this race? Oh, by the way, everyone, I will post Dylan's ticket maker tickets so you can see exactly
Yeah. Well,
who the A, Bs, and Cs are and how he structured it through Ticket
yeah.
Maker and everything like that?
No, we're just gonna go. We're just gonna go Lone A in his first leg.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. I'm gonna check out the other Peter Miller. There's other first timers. Peter Miller has a first timer on the outside, but he doesn't do that well with turf first time starters. The horse might take some money. Don't care. I don't think he's gonna. Nah, the Carly Gaines horse has been working well, have some good grades in there, but she really doesn't win first time out. And if they do,
Right.
they're usually good horses. So maybe this one's a good one, but I'm gonna go with the numbers, and she doesn't really win first time out. So in the long term, she's not gonna win first time out. So Kristen Mulhall, this horse I think is got a lot of upside. The horse was 30 something to 1 first time out, but that's fine. The horse didn't know that, and the horse ran really well. So
Yeah, and she's so much. I mean, she can win first out. Don't get me wrong. She's an excellent trainer, but she's really good second time out. So it's
yeah,
possible that was just kind of an education run for the horse, and the horse was only beaten 3.5 lengths. So I
yeah.
mean,
No, the
it's kind of
horse.
a sneaky good run.
Yeah, we're just gonna single it and move on to the next leg.
All right, well, let's move on to race 2. I know we have a little bit of a difference of opinion in this race, so we'll see what you have to say. It's a $40,000 optional claiming, non-winners 1, contested at 8.5 furlongs on the main track. Morning line favorite is number 6, Defunded at 9-5, a Bob Baffert trainee who has been running in graded stakes races. He's going to get a great stalking trip from the outside, but he is a 3-year-old facing elders for the first time. So we'll see how he stacks up. There's no denying that this one has ability. And I know it's probably one of the horses that you're going to use, but why don't you talk us through this race?
Yeah, so the second race, I like the 2 and the 6, Beyond Brilliant and Defunded. They're going to be my 2A horses. Beyond Brilliant chased some freak from the Baltus barn opening weekend who ran like a 104 buyer, Ginobili.
Yep.
Was broke well, was pretty much like in the 2 path the whole way around, and had some run. I think wanted to go, but the jockey was holding the back, and was closer to the rail than I think than you want to be. The horse made a nice move around the outside, on the far turn, and I think was kind of against the grain of the race because it was a super duper fast pace. I know take out the winner, the winner freaked, but the other horses who were up there raced towards the back. They finished at the back of the pack. I think like the Sadler horse, and Mr. Impossible, they kind of clunked up there for
Yeah.
the minor placings. I think this one tried to actually win the race, ran into the fast pace and just kind of collapsed. Wasn't a terrible race. Hopefully we'll get more off the rail this time. But Defunded, has been chasing his barn mate in his last time. I made a really big win bet on him 2 starts ago, and I thought I was pretty much home free at the top of the lane, and then this monster just came down and just was second best. I was going to use the 5 horse as a B in that race, Palace Coupe.
Yeah.
If that one just goes wire to wire, there might be some other horses ding donging up there, but I think that horse might be quicker than the rest of them. So I'm going to use those 3, but my 2As were the 2 and 6, and then the 5 would be my B.
Yeah. Palace Q number 5 is the horse that I kind of like a little bit. I mentioned track biases earlier, and I know you and Pete talked about it on the seminar, how the outside, the first week of Del Mar, all the winners came from the outside on the
Yeah,
dirt track. If you were stuck inside, you had zero chance.
yeah,
So look for horses who came back. But I think recently, especially yesterday, I thought the inside was golden. I mean, there were a couple of horses who did come rally from the outside and get up in the shadow of the wire, but they really had to earn it. I thought the horses on the inside stuck around a lot longer than they should have. So my play is thinking that Palace Q is going to break sharply, make the lead, angle over, come and get me. That's
yeah,
kind of what I'm thinking. But yeah, I mean, I have no knocks against your horses. I like what you said about Beyond Brilliant, how Beyond Brilliant actually tried to win the race. It reminded me
yeah,
a little bit about, I don't know if you saw the Whitney yesterday, but how Swiss Skydiver,
yeah,
she tried to challenge the eventual winner twice in that race. And I think she got her heart broken, but she actually tried to win the race, whereas the other ones I think just didn't really try to win. And Nick's go was super, super impressive. I'd be very curious to see how Swiss Skydiver comes out of that race, because she tried to take it to the horse early, and then she tried to pressure him again around the turn, and she just wasn't good enough. But I don't know. I like what you said there.
No, yeah, there's like in the past performances, just in the running lines, they don't a lot of those middle race moves and when they try to attack the leaders and stuff like that, that doesn't really show in there. So there's moves inside of races that are huge. Like even if they run 6th or 7th or something like that, sometimes these horses, they look good. The jockey's sitting chilly on them, and they make a move on their own, and they range up, and they just they might falter, but there's that little eye test, I guess, that just shows that there is something there, that that they tried to actually do something. So I don't know. It's just when you see it, it's there.
Yeah, one of my favorite playbacks is a horse who makes a middle move into a fast pace and then flattens out. So to me, that's really good. And you see that visually when you're watching replays. Since we're on the topic, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing to prepare for the NHC and your trip handicapping and what you're looking for when you actually do trip handicapping?
Yeah, just for the NHC, it's coming up in 3 weeks. I watched every race from the whole month of June at Santa Anita. Pretty much wrote notes on every single horse in every race. A little behind the 8 ball at Del Mar. I have the first 4 days at Del Mar done with trip notes on every single horse, and it's pretty nice. Some of these horses are coming back here in this week, and I don't have to watch the trip. I don't have to watch the race because
the work's done.
I remember it, but it also says my 2 little sentences about it. So my goal is to have everything, all of the Del Mar races, maybe up until a week out for the NHC, just so I don't have to watch replays in the hotel, and I'll have a good understanding of who's running. And once you get caught up with everything, my goal is to never to watch replays. I'll pretty much have them all just ready to go. I have all the notes for them, and so gotta be dedicated for that type of stuff, though.
That's especially good for the NHC, because the NHC is a grind, and there are a ton of races. So if you can go in there with most of the trip work already done, it'll save you a lot of time and free up your mental energy and your bandwidth to actually focus on handicapping and strategy during the contest.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I got 5 other people who are working at other tracks, and they're pretty much doing the same thing. So we're gonna have a big old Excel spreadsheet, and of just so if they see something, it might not have the whole trip note on it for that one, but they'll have something that says, "Hey, go watch this race."
Right.
So,
sure.
Just every little. This will be my second NHC, so every little. I know I'm going to improve a lot from last time, just because when you do something the second time, you're a lot better at it. So
second time starter.
Hey, just like in the first race. So yeah, second time doing something, you're always better at it.
Yeah. All right. Well, go Team Donnelly for the NHC. I hope you guys make some noise. That'll be nice, because you're playing for a bonus, right? I mean, there's a bonus attached to your entry.
There's a little bonus. I have 2 entries, but I have to pick which entry is alive for the bonus. So
flip a coin. I mean, what do you?
My grandpa's favorite number was 2, so I think I'm just going to go with the second entry.
There you go.
A part of me, I was actually thinking of playing the same horse in both entries up until I need to really make a decision. Hopefully it's on day 3, or something like that. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet, but I'm kind of, I think that might not be bad. Just play the same ones, and then I don't know.
Yeah, to me, I find that usually is the best strategy, because there's nothing worse than having split tickets, where if you had the right opinion on both of them, you have both tickets now in a really good position to make a move on the third
Sure.
day. And then when you have both those tickets high up on the leaderboard, then you could kind of, you know, go different ways and try and catch something. But again,
Yeah.
it's all situational. I mean, if there's a race where you like, you know, 2:30-1 shots and you think they both have chances,
Sure.
you kind of want to use both of them, one on each ticket. So I guess it
Yeah.
really all depends. But that's a conversation for a whole other day.
Yeah.
Tournament strategy is it's crazy.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Let's move on to race 3. It's a Calbred $20,000 optional claimer. Non-winners of 1, contested at 5 furlongs on the turf. Rails are at 12 feet. Morning line favorite is number 2 Castle at 5-2. Total professional, former stakes winner, but he is an 8-year-old coming off a May layoff. I did this race for the online Del Mar contest. So everyone out there who cares about my opinion can go ahead and read my analysis on dmtc.com. But we're here to talk about who Dylan likes. So why don't you take us through race 3 and tell us who you're using for the pick 5?
Well, my lone A was going to be the 5 bench judge. Peter Miller with Turf Sprinters is pretty good. I just think that this horse last time was a pretty damn good field. The winner ran an 88 buyer who was primed, ready for that race the first week. But the horse was off a little awkwardly, got bumped. Raced was way farther back than usually wants to be. Usually likes to sit, you know, a length or so off the lead. And you know, I think the jockey approaching the turn was like, do I just try to save ground? Do I go outside? And he chose to he didn't really want to angle completely too far out. So he kind of waited, and then he went really far out, and I don't think he was ever really whipped down the lane. He came home fastest. I think the jockey just gave him a nice clean run down the lane, picking up pieces, and flew home. You know, I think this horse will be closer. I don't think this is that tough of a field. I think that Castle, I was going to use that horse as a lone B. Has ran a pretty good race. I know that's dropping in class, was running against Open 25, but running against good horses. Ian Glass is a pretty good horse since he's came out here, won 3 of 4. You know, the only other horse in this race that I thought might have an opportunity, that if they come back guns a-blazing, was the 3 Austin's Boy. I was going to use that horse as a C. His maiden win was really nice. You know, it was from, you know, over a year ago, but you know, Cruel Jack can have this horse ready to go at Del Mar. So I was going to use the 5 as a lone A. Hopefully he's a little bit closer to the pace, and you know, I don't think there's much else in this field.
I also think you mentioned the 3. I think the 3 got some really, really good works. Do you look at workout reports at all?
No, I do. Pretty much I go and try to make my opinions first, and then I look at the workouts. Like if I'm on the verge of, you know, using this horse as an A or a B, and they have some C+ workouts, and instead, then I'll switch them to a B. I'm not going to throw them out because the horse is, you know, needs to pick it up, lollygagging around there. Like it's a workout, you know. Who knows? Plenty of C+ horses have won races before.
Sure.
Plenty of C's. So I'm not going to throw them out because they're not working well. I'll just maybe downgrade them in the selection, you know, A, B, C type of deal.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the workouts are very valuable. I think Andy Harrington does a phenomenal job. You know, Toby Terrell also does a really good job. Back east, you got Bruno DiGiulio. You got some really, really sharp guys who are doing this day in and day out, and they know what they're talking about. And the way I like to use them is very similar to you. I won't throw out a horse I like because the horse got a bad work, especially if it's a turf horse who's working on the dirt.
Yeah,
you know, and the dirt works. It's just, but I will upgrade horses who I might have overlooked, who are working well. I'm pretty sure Austin's Boy has got some good workouts.
Yeah.
Like I said, I did this race for the website, and I was really trying to come up with something clever. And the cleverest thing that I could come up with is that I gave the 1 a little bit of a shot. Maldonado breaking from the rail. I think they're going to gun hard with this horse and hope for the best. So if Austin's Boy decides to sit back a little bit, you know, Rispoli is not really a guy who likes to duel, you know, because he knows how to get horses to settle, and he's such a good judge of pace. I was thinking maybe the 1 could scoot away and try and steal it. So if anybody out there is looking for another horse to throw in, you might want to consider that horse.
The
But
9 is out in that race, you said, yeah?
oh
Right?
yeah, tis a speed
Yeah,
bomb or whatever. Yeah, that's
that
one less speed
definitely
horse.
that definitely increases the one's chances. I made a nice win bet on the horse 2 starts back at 9-1 who got
Oh,
ran
just
down late.
you got nailed.
Um,
Oh man.
but no, that
Yeah.
horse for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to the fourth. See if we can keep alive here in the pick five. $80,000
Yeah.
maiden claimer. 2-year-olds going 5.5 furlongs on the main track. Morning line favorite number 6, Charter Oak. Just missed at 30-1 in a tougher maiden claimer here opening week. He had to break from a dead rail that day, so he ran an even better race than it looks on paper. Dylan,
Yeah.
what do you got for us here?
Yeah, my 2 A's, I was going to use the 3 and the 6 in there. The 6 was nobody was even close that was close to the rail did any running opening weekend, and I might use this horse as a lone A, but for right now, I have the 3 and the 6 as lone A's. Yeah, that 6-horse Charter Oak dug in the whole way around there and ran really, really well. Second time starter can improve. The 3-horse, I think there's some run in there. I forgot what my trip note exactly said, but I don't think he was ever really comfortable and kind of wasn't really aggressive with the horse and came home just fine, galloped out well. Um, you know, this horse is going to be 6-1, maybe even a little bit higher. Um, so I was going to use him as well because I think this horse will be an overlay on his expected chances to win. So, um, the other horse I was going to use possibly as a C, who was bet heavy in his debut, was Bob Baffert. Um, was that what's his name?
Number
Midnight Mammoth?
4. Yeah.
Is that his name? Yeah, that horse was kind of bumped around a little bit at the break and was down on that dead rail the whole way and just packed it in. So if there is some run in there, maybe Baffert pays $13 to win in this race. That horse could sneak in there. But my 2 A's, I think these ones are gonna be tough to beat. The 3 and the 6 here.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I didn't have anything else to really add in this race. I will just say a couple of things about the horses you mentioned. The 6, the trainer, Andrew Lerner, he's had a little bit of a quiet meet so far. I have a feeling he's going to start running more horses and start winning some races. So,
Sure.
yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how Charter Oak runs back after racing on the dead rail. And then the owner of number 3, Respect the Code, Gary Barber. He's been winning a lot of races down here since the meet started. So anytime you see a Gary Barber horse, you want to pay extra close attention because his trainers have certainly gotten his horses ready to win during the Del Mar meet.
Yeah.
Do you pay attention to that stuff? I mean, hot owners or anything like that?
Not really hot owners per se. I know, like, every owner wants to win at Del Mar.
Sure.
So I mean, it's like, oh, these owners love to win at Del Mar. Oh, what owners don't
Well,
like to win at Del Mar? So oh, they point for this meet. Everyone points for this meet.
That's
So
right.
I think that's a little, hogwash type of deal. There is whose horses have been running really well. John Sheriff's horses have been running really well. They just been kind of been sticking out to me. They looked really
Okay.
good in the paddocks. Like they've been bet. Yeah, John Sheriff's. I don't know why that he's just kind of sticking out to me. And I don't really pay attention too much to hot and cold trainers. I think it's just they're the horses and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I don't really pay attention, but just some reason Sheriff's horses are sticking out to me. And my boy Mike Pipey, I guess, is sticking out to me. That's a little cold right now, so we gotta get him off the dock here.
He'll heat up. He's a really
Yeah,
good trainer. So I'm not too worried about that. He'll start winning some races and probably at some pretty good prices. So
definitely.
yeah, I think that's interesting because I remember what you said when you were talking to Pete about jockeys. Like you really don't pay too much attention to that stuff, you know.
I mean, it's not gonna not have me bet a horse. Um, I'll definitely I'll pay attention. Like if a top jockey is riding for a smaller barn, that type of
Right.
deal. But it's not. I'm not gonna not if there's a if Tiago Pereira is riding a horse for a smaller barn, I'm not going to not bet it. You know, if you know, any Emily, I'll bet a lot of money on Emily Ellingwood and Jessica Pfeiffer and Ortega if I like the horse. Like that doesn't,
Sure.
I don't, that doesn't matter to me. I mean, they're all capable. Sure, some, you know, some have more experience on a horseback, but you know, that is what, you know,
Yeah, the
I don't really
analysis
pay.
begins and ends with the horse, really. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
all about the horse. But I mean, I won't name names, but there's a jockey that I don't really like in turf races. And there was a string for about a year where I would handicap the race, I would fall in love with a horse on the turf at a good price, and then I'd see who the jock was riding, and I would go, "Oh my God." So I bet anyway. Like you said, I'm not going to get off the horse but
Sure.
I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I know exactly what's going to happen. This horse is going to be getting an okay trip, then he's going to start to go wide and be wide the whole time, and then run third. And sure enough, like
Why? Are
what was
you
in my
talking about
mind,
Mike's? Are you talking about
well,
Mike Smith?
well, that's that. No, I'm not talking about Mike Smith, but he is a jockey who does not like to save ground either. But this is
Yeah.
another guy who's actually a very, very good rider on the dirt and with speed horses. But on turf, I have a very hard time connecting with him. And like I said, there was a string where every horse I liked had this jockey up, and it started to mess with my head a little bit, you know.
That's funny.
Yeah, but anyway, all right, let's close out this pick five.
Sure, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. It's another maiden race. Calbred maiden special weight for fillies and mares going 5 furlongs, another 5 furlong race on the turf. Rails at 12 feet. Morning line favorite number 9, Big Summer, 5-2. A 3-year-old filly who showed good early speed from the rail before weakening and finishing third in her debut, going 6 furlongs at Santa Anita. But that race came way back in February. Then again, she is a half to tribalist. And if Del Mar denizens remember, that was one heck of a turf sprinter here, also trained by Blake Heap. I think that horse raced till he was like 8 years old. He raced like 1 or 2 times a year,
Right,
always at
yeah.
Del Mar, and always ran a great race going 5 furlongs on the turf. So talk to us about race 5.
Yeah, this is more of a kind of a trickier race. You know, I had I like the 1 as an A, this Phil DeMott. Phil DeMott, he doesn't really win with first timers. He's like 10, 11%. You can get it if the horse is, you know, if he has the horse for it. But the horse is bred for grass, has the rail, has some speed in his workouts, as they say. So if this horse can get out there, you know, I don't think a lot of the inside horses have that much speed. I don't think so. If this horse can, you know, get a pace pressing trip on the inside, that's always really well in turf sprints. So I was going to use the 6, who's a second time starter, I believe, for Glatt. If I miss say something, it's because I don't have any past performances ahead of me. This is all on memory. So I think it's a second time starter from Glatt, who was kind of stuck on the rail last
It
time,
is.
and yeah, didn't seem like he was too comfortable in there. Ran a fine race. The winner of that race was a Teddy's Barino. I think
Yep,
that's how
Teddy
you
Bruno.
something like that. And that horse ran a really good race. Almost won a stake off that maiden win. So you know that horse gets off the rail and can definitely improve second time out. And like you said, Big Summer. When Blakey horses get bet first time out and stuff like that, that horse, they're usually runners. And this horse was pretty impressive breaking from the rail, showed good speed all the way around there, and I just faltered late. But you know, like I said, everyone's pointing for this Del Mar meet, so I'm sure this horse is primed and ready to go. And
Yep.
this horse should be tough in there too.
Yeah, I like all your selections. I'm going to give it a little extra push to number 6. You Only Live Twice. That's one of my best bets on the card. Go back and watch the replay of this race. Horse had to steady a few times, stuck on the inside, and still ran really well. Didn't get beat all that much. Was in a just kind of we tired a little bit late, and a bunch of horses came and passed. So the 5th beaten by 4 lengths looks a lot worse on paper than it does in real life. So I expect that horse to run a lot better today. And Mark Glatt is a trainer who doesn't often have his horses fully cranked first out. He's much better with second time starters. So I really, really like that horse today. And I'm glad you came up with number 6 as well. So that about does it. Like I said, I'm going to post Dylan's ticket maker matrix on Twitter. So follow me at Scatoni Shoreshot if you don't already. I want to thank Dylan for taking the time to us and wish him best of luck in all the tournaments coming up and with all his live money play. As I always like to say, good luck to us and let's make some money. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next Sunday.